Hi, my name is Aljamal Rashad Binden. I'm the chair of the board of Movement I'm All for Race Equity. And some of you may not know much about us, but we're a group that's been around for about 10 years. In the last few years, we've started to deal with anti-racism, racism issues related to apartheid and things that have happened in Southern Africa, as much as trying to bring the world together. We're kind of excited today for this special edition where we have some guest speakers and presenters who are going to talk about some very important issues in Namibia. And one of the things that we're concerned about is some of those environmental issues that impact people not only in Botswana, but in Namibia. And again, some of the conflicts that African countries have had dealing with that issues. And the title of our theme song, Are There Fair Injustices for Africans in Terms of Our Society? More Salelo programs, again, the program deals with international issues dealing with racial ethnic conflict. We've raised questions about issues in the international arena, as well as the issue related to poaching and some of the challenges between Botswana and Namibia. These African countries some of them have draconian policies where if they catch individuals who are attempting to harvest the horns of rhinoceros or killing elephants, they can kill some of those foreign nationals. Some years ago, an African writer penned a powerful article, talked about the 30 Namibians who were suspected of poaching has been killed over the years by the Botswana government in terms of the military force. Again, in Botswana, under the past president, Ian Khama started a policy called shoot to kill. This was many years ago. And again, there's been many poachings in other parts of Africa, and some of those are alleged poaching in our sense. This particular incident that we're talking about happened near the Chobe River, and we're somewhat concerned about some of these issues. Again, this mentality was started some years ago, I think in 2013 rather, by the Botswana government. Many know that this is an issue that we need to talk about. And again, we know that some of the problems that happen, we need to try to clear it up through reconciliation, conversation, and justice. Again, one of our concerns is how do we deal with these issues in a very collective manner? And so part of what we want to do is talk about that in our situation. The other issue that we're concerned with, there's been international articles written by the Center for International Journalism on that explored that very issue, and they raised many questions. And this issue, as I said earlier, is not just admitted to one person, it's about a lot of people involved in the situation. Again, there's been some 25 Zimbabweans who's also been murdered or killed in this excursion into Botswana. Again, our concern, we use the word alleged because, again, some of these things have not been found out in terms of how how they've been resolved. Many Africans do not discuss these issues because, again, it is sometime beyond what they're working on. Again, they're dealing with the Maslow issues of other important issues in their community, and sometimes this doesn't always bubble up to the top. We're concerned in North America as well as in other European countries. How do we make sure we don't impose on many African countries this issue, this environmental mentality, where we can take a human life over an elephant or animal's life? And so we want to talk about that from time to time, as well as global warming and, of course, climate issues. And we're going to discuss what extent should we help discuss these issues? How can we discuss these issues with our community and our population? So today we have three Namibians who are here to throw down some heavy light. Had a chance to talk to them briefly, and again, I'm going to pronounce their names a bit, and I'm going to give them a chance to make sure we get that correct, but also we're going to get into the meat of the discussions. And I'm very happy that they're able to join us across the ocean, across the pond, as some people say in some situation. We have, first we have Sylvester Kavjani, who is also one of the general secretaries of the Namibian Lives Matters movement. Again, these all individuals are members of the Namibian Lives Matters, and that's how we're able to connect on this important issue. He's also a professional Cisco certified cyber security, I guess, analyst, and I suspect that deals with computers and so on. He's also a business coach. He's also a former Namibian financial institution union president. So he comes with a lot of skill set and involved in many of these issues. We also have Mercy Mahunga, who is administrator officer in the Ministry of Education. She's been in this work for a while, but also she's part of this group, and she also deals a lot of issues work with administrative office for over many years. I have 15 years. And then we have Savimva Mahumbi, who is the National Executive Chairperson for the Namibian Lives Matter movement. He's a keen advocate for social justice, very much articulate on these important issues. And I know that he's been involved in many of these issues, not only his community, but people know him for getting involved and helping to push this matter. Now, I will apologize up front, folks. I'm not the best pronouncer of people's name, and I give them a chance to come back and correct me because, again, some of us, we like to say, who were born in the United States, English is not always our mother language, but sometimes we have a hard time with names. So I want to give each one of our guests to give a little chance to introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into the question. So welcome, folks. I really appreciate you all being here today. So I guess we can just start off right there. Whoever would like to start first.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jamal. Thank you so much. My name is Simvula Mudaveti, National Executive Chairperson. I also lecture at the University of Namibia. I teach communication skills, academic fluency. I've been in the teaching profession for over 21 years. I also chaplain in prison, community engagement. I do rehabilitation and reintegration. But my passion is social justice, community engagement, being a voice to the voiceless. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And your next panel members, I see Sylvester's on the line. Finally got in. Sorry about Sylvester. I saw you try to catch up, but go for it, brother. A little introduction on yourself. We're doing
an introduction. All right, great. Thank you for having me. My name is Sylvester Kabajani. I am a social justice activist as well. I was a former president of Namibia Financial Institutions Union. So I've been in the social justice industry for quite some time, fighting for the rights of people. So I also am a certified cybersecurity engineer. So that's basically who I am. And the Secretary General for Namibia Lives Matter movement in the Commerce region.
Good. And then is Mercy around? Is she here?
Yeah.
She's not here.
Mercy is currently still struggling to log in there. So I think she will come through a little bit later.
Okay, good. And that's part of our challenge. Sometimes we're dealing with international issues and sometimes interconnectivity across the ocean. So really appreciate that. So first, let me just start by starting with the questions, and I guess we'll bounce back and forth on the questions. And again, I'm going to kind of interview for the format for the folks that didn't say this, but we're going to kind of interview our guests first up front, and then we're going to throw it open to the participants to ask them any questions. I do know I talk fast, so I'm going to have to slow down a little bit. So let's work on that. So first, I want to talk, as Namibians, you have been involved in seeking social justice for those three nationals who were killed by the Botswana Defense Force or the military for allegedly poaching in Botswana. Has there been justice or anything done with that incident or that tragedy from your perspective?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, first of all, we are called Namibian Lives Matter Movement. We started in 2020 in November when Botswana Defense Force gunned down three Namibian brothers. These are brothers and they are cousins, Zambian cousin. So we formed this movement to seek justice for them. But we don't just represent them. We represent over 37 Namibians, innocent, unarmed, shot and killed by Botswana Defense Force in what Botswana calls alleged acts of poaching. So we did not get justice. We pushed that this matter be taken into the High Court in Botswana. The Botswana government refused. They settled for an inquest. I went to attend that inquest, and 5 pieces of evidence that shows that Botswana Defense Force should have been held liable, criminally liable, for murder, manslaughter with direct intention to kill. Number one, Botswana had claimed that the 3 Namibian brothers were armed. But Namibia sent our divers, Namibian police divers. They went in, checked for the weapons, spent cartridges. They never found anything. And the water, the water where Botswana had pointed that this is where they encountered the 3 fishermen, was less than a meter, a meter deep. And our divers, have experience of diving up to 65 meters in the ocean. We have an ocean. Botswana doesn't have an ocean. The second issue was, Botswana had, in my view, planted horns, elephant tusks on the scene to implicate the fishermen. We did put these questions to them. There were no fingerprints. There were no fingerprints that Botswana lifted on the elephant tusks. So how do you link elephant tusks to 3 dead men without you lifting fingerprints? The third issue was Namibia had sent a medical doctor to observe the autopsy. And in his analysis, he says there was ample evidence that these men were assaulted, heavily assaulted before they were killed. So it shows clearly that these men were not just shot. They were abducted, they were kidnapped, they were beaten, and later killed point blank range. The fourth piece of evidence that shows that Botswana had actually just killed these innocent men who were fishermen is that these men were found on the Chove River, on the Namibian side. And Botswana Defense Force took them across, the other side and beat them up and killed them so that they create a narrative that these men were in Botswana actually. The last piece of evidence is initially when the men were killed, Botswana had said these men were going to poach for elephants. Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. There are elephants in Namibia. Why would you leave? Why would you leave elephants in Namibia and go and poach in Botswana? And then we asked to give us proof. If they had killed any elephants, where was the proof of these elephants? There was no carcass to show that any elephant was killed. So we called it miscarriage of justice. Botswana, unfortunately, does not observe international practices. Their investigation was heavily one-sided. They couldn't even consider any witness from Namibia. Namibia sent a medical doctor. Namibia sent scene of crime experts. Namibia sent investigators, seasoned investigators. And the last piece of evidence that I want to give is Botswana claimed to use a spy, that an anonymous man had called them to inform them. But evidence before court showed that this man was actually working for Botswana. So how do you hire a Namibian to spy? That's espionage. International law allows, if two countries are at war, they are allowed to use spies. But Namibia and Botswana is not at war. So why would Botswana hire a spy in our country? So it's miscarriage of justice, and that is why we're saying we're taking it to the international world to see that the shoot-to-kill policy continues to be perpetuated against fishermen. How do you kill up to 37 people? No gun, no cartridge, and even the bullet wounds, all over the body. Thank you.
I got about at least 7 questions I'm going to get to for this 30 minutes before we open it up. So I want to we can give a little bit more brief on the response. I see that other nations have taken other folks to the International Court because of this conflict. Has other leadership or power in Namibia, in other words, has the government in Namibia or the powers that be considered taking Botswana to the International Court on this incident or this tragedy? Because as we alluded to a few minutes ago, it was done internally between the two countries. Is there a sense to go outside? And if we can keep it a little brief, because I want to get to the other questions before we open it up to the audience. Someone else, whoever.
All right, so I can take that one.
All right. I think from the position of government, it's been reluctant to take that route. What Namibian government has done is mostly to try and engage the Botswana counterparts in terms of promoting these good international relations. As a social justice movement, we are relentless, and we won't stop there. We want to pursue that avenue. So we are still trying to get a platform in which we can advance that whole scenario to the International Court of Justice. So the Namibian government on its own is reluctant in the sense that they would like to contain the matter locally and not let it go any further, in the fear of inciting any sort of violence or any misrepresentation and all that. So I think in brief, that is where we are. And that is why we still want to push further to get justice.
Gotcha, I understand. I see Mercy has joined us. Mercy, would you like to introduce yourself and say a few words also about who you are? Because I butchered the names or chewed them up real bad. But Mercy, you're on the set. Mercy, can you say something to us?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Or good afternoon at our side. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah, I can't see you, but can you tell us who you are a little bit and give it an introduction? Who you know, what do you do, and so on. I said something, but I'd like to have you say something also, since you're part of the panel.
Oh, okay. My name is Messi Mahunga, just as introduced before or earlier. I'm a member of the executive committee of the Namibia Lives Matter movement. I have been a member since from the beginning. So we are here with my brothers together to find ways in us to find justice for our late brothers and many other victims.
Good. Very good. Good. Let me switch to another question. I know, again, I'm chasing time, so you have to excuse me because I really want the participants to have half of the program to talk directly to our esteemed panel members here. Some years ago, I heard Diane Sawyer, an American journalist, say on 2020, and we're talking probably about 25 years ago, that where there's showed on this particular national 2020 that there was an African national who was killed in the act of harvesting a tusk from an elephant, and they showed this dead body on the ground in this video or this national telecast. Her exact words were, "Elephants got one, humans nothing." And I was so insulted and incensed by that comment. And I wanted to raise that question here today. Are wildlife more important than human life? Many Black folks around the continent, in this country, sometimes may find that insensitive over the death of an African or African American, whoever, as perceived as racist. Some people may say, no, the elephants and the animals have just as much right to this earth as we as humans. Nevertheless, both Africans and white folks have problems with some actions. Some do not see a problem with this. What is your response to this issue of killing animals? Into killing people over animals? And again, it sounds a little loaded, but give me a little perspective from your perspective in Namibia. And again, I want to be open-ended on that one.
Thank you, sir. I feel herself, she didn't really mean it in a wrong way. I understand she meant it just to say elephants have one life. Yes, they have what humans have to doubt. They have not lost their loved one. That's all understand that she meant. But again, if we look in our country and our borderlines, we can see that yes, it's true, elephant and many other wildlife are in the life of our loved ones. Or because they are being they are accused. They are being accused of those things we are not doing. So I feel the lives of elephants or other wildlife are valued more than human beings.
Mercy, your thing is kind of fluctuating in and out. We're going to switch up a little bit because it's hard to hear you somewhat here. I'm going to switch with another question. Many Americans need to be made who have long-term relationship with Botswana and so on. And in the war for independence in Southern African countries and other European forces were involved, Botswana gave refugee status to a lot of Namibians. From your perspective, have these recent tragedies or these incidents impacted that international cooperation between the two countries? Anyone can answer that.
Not necessarily. I think more than ever, especially with the friendship that the Botswana president had with our late president, may his soul rest in peace. They had such a friendship which allowed them to contain these types of events, and that relationship has been promoted on the level of the ministries in line with international relations. So it is yes, Botswana played a pivotal role in our independence, and hence there is a need to continuously engage them to see to it that we continue to promote goodly neighborly relations. That is why everybody is reluctant to take this matter further to the international court. Remember, we also had an incident where we had a dispute over a certain island, which went to the international court, and Botswana won that judgment. Therefore, there is a level of sort of you want to protect the relationship. At the same time, you fear provoking another nation into a situation where there's a bit of tension and so. So I think in a way the relationship has been maintained, but at what cost really? Because if we don't resolve the fact that Namibian lives are being lost at the hands of the BDF, then we have not done justice to the relationship we have.
Wow, thank you. Appreciate that. One of the things that I do as a moderator or interviewer or kind of a host, I love to use the metaphor of the magic wand, and I throw that oftentimes out at our panel members and guests on. But if you had a magic wand, what solutions would you have for this situation? What kind of address or what you would say reparations, or what have you do to make this situation right? Again, help us with that one.
Yeah, I think I'll give that to Mercy. Mercy, go ahead, please.
If I really had the power to change, I really would like to see our two countries and sharing the borderlines, any other countries that we are sharing the border with. And also, I would like to see the border treaty for 2018, at least for two governments to go back to the drawing board and attend to it, because our communities are really affected, and it all came to light after the incidents of 20.
Kind of lost you again. Somebody finish, or do you want to move to the next one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let me just finish it. I would want to see integration, not international cooperation, because international cooperation is where you are saying, look, let's work together. But integration is let's understand each other, and we come a long way with Botswana. We are not in support of poaching. No. We are saying let the law take its course. Don't shoot a person who's not armed. Let the judicial processes be done. Let evidence be put, in a court of law that is independent, that is objective, so that you give fair view to those complaining. So I think I would want to see that. I would also want to salute the words of our late president. He called Botswana trigger happy. And so that's not semantics. That's not semantics. That's serious. Our president also said to Botswana, friends, don't kill each other. And that's what I want. Authentic feedback. Communicate and say, look, this is not right. And I think we have started well. It should not just be rhetoric, because so far, Botswana's statements, mere political rhetoric, PR stunts. So we want it to be genuine, that as brothers, we sit around the table and say, look, this is not right. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Next question I want to throw out is, one of the things that got me involved in this international conversation and talking about issues of people in Southern Africa is I examined the apartheid situation back in the day and some of the challenges that Southern African families and people went through dealing with the white racist regime in South Africa. And again, I read Saul Platte's book, Native Life in South Africa, which was written in the 1900s, early 1900s, and was impressed with his writing skills in terms of understanding the issue of diaspora between Africans, African Americans, and Africans in Europe and so on. And he attempted to bring these groups together back then, and he was not as successful as he thought he would be, but he was also fighting against apartheid and the redistribution and taking of the land from the indigenous people. And again, it led to that apartheid situation, and he was fighting that. Can we, as African Americans and Africans born in the motherland or even here, ever be united and help each other out a little bit more than what we've done? I know there was a support during the anti-apartheid movement struggle, but from your vantage point, how can we bridge that gap, or how can we ever be united throughout the continent, but also those of us who live in North America and also the European countries? That's a heavy question, but I just want to throw it out for you to give me some feedback.
I think Sylvester is ready to give an answer. I'll only take it if but he's ready. I can see.
Maybe you should attempt that one.
But back and forth, people.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
No problem. Yeah, I'm a product of a Fulbright scholarship. You know, Americans extended a hand to me. I studied in the US for my MA at ODU in Norfolk, Virginia. Now I think that's fine. African Americans and ourselves here, we should move in the direction of having these conversations. You know, number one, open platforms that let's engage. Once we engage, then we get to understand each other. Secondly, I think we also need to realize that we are one, just in different areas of the world, and our struggle is the same. You know, we're all saying let our voices be heard, let justice be heard. Black Lives Matter. Look, Namibian Lives Matter movement. And number three, I think we also need to open up as Africans to those of our brothers like yourself who are abroad to please come, you know, interact. My perceptions about life changed when I studied in America. I lived in an African American community. And so these perceptions need to change, but we can't change if we don't visit each other. Remember, the world literally runs on perception and not reality. And there are misconceptions about each other. We suspect that maybe we don't trust each other, you know, maybe we betrayed and all that. But when we engage and visit and you know, understand each other, then we're going to be operating on reality. The reality is we need each other. We are because of you guys, and you are because of us. And the world is watching. What are they going to do to help one another? Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sylvester, did you want to respond? I saw you had a smile on your face earlier.
No, I think he did justice to the question.
Okay.
I think he covered everything concerning that aspect. But what I wanted to add quickly is that I think as Africans, we still are finding a struggle where we are still divided among ourselves as well. So I think that is a challenge we need to deal with. And I'm grateful that you have created this platform where we can now engage, and it has opened avenues for us to also engage the brothers locally, because the problem is the fight we have is still among ourselves. So how do we even reach out to others out there to help us if within ourselves or internally we can't contain the fights that we have? But I welcome the platform that you have created. It will give us a voice above the waters. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. We're now getting close to our halfway point, and I want to again open it up. But I do have, with your presentation in response to these questions, are anything that you want the participants or people who are listening to take away from helping in this cause? Again, we have 30 minutes to go with the participants, but before we move into that, do you have anything that you want to say to the participants that they should help with your cause?
Yeah, I think for us, we are bringing this issue in the public domain because we want facts challenged publicly, and we are open to hear what people's views and perspectives are. We're not advocating for poaching. No, we're seeking protection for innocent men and women who don't have access to legal aid, you know, resources that can fight for themselves. We're speaking on their behalf. That their side of the story can be heard, and that these mainstream, you know, tourism should be challenged, because Africans have conserved, you know, animals very well. You know, most of Europe, America, you know, you literally don't have as much wildlife as we have. So I think we're also saying indigenous knowledge should be respected. Africans come a long way in protecting these animals, but we can't be put on the sidelines. These are wildlife that we've lived with. And for us to be, you know, to become victims to material and spiritual resources that we've managed, I think we will not take that lightly. And finally, we want these things to be discussed with us. You know, nothing should be discussed without us that concerns us. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're halfway upon our point here where we open it up to the participant. Those who, if your first time, we normally provide a brief or 30-minute interview, whatever our content, and then we throw it out to people who are on the Zoom or the Facebook Live, whatever, to raise questions or comments. So this is your section. So my role is to be the moderator. So anyone like to raise their hand or make a comment to any of our guests? Questions or comments? Now let's keep it brief. We only have like 30 minutes or so. I'll forever hold your peace, as they say. Oh, yes.
I see a hand.
I see the hands up. Go ahead. Go ahead. This is John. Go ahead. Turn your mic on and you can ask the question directly or send it through the chat, whatever you want to do, John. I can see you.
Yes, I am Joel.
Okay.
And I am in Botswana. So I'm a journalist in Botswana. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can. We hear you and we see you clearly. Go ahead.
Oh, great. So I have been to Katima Mulilo, Sylvester, and I've met the Nyambe's family who were killed by the BDF many years ago. And I see David Nyambe here. So I have sat down with the families and I spent a week in Katima Mulilo. Katima Mulilo is on the border with Botswana in the north. And I'll be frank with you, Sylvester, there is poaching in that region. And that does not justify killing or shooting of people. I think the poaching is to be addressed by both sides. Again, you mentioned that the relations between Botswana and Namibia has since improved since Khama left. Khama was the previous president who had the shoot to kill policy. So in my view, I see an opportunity to deal with these issues, to deal with the border issues, as the lady who spoke last said, but also to deal with the poaching itself. Both countries, I checked the statistics. Tourism is a significant contributor to the GDP, to the economy. So in Botswana, I know it's around 11%, and it's significant, and they take poaching seriously. And I don't say other countries don't take poaching seriously. And I am nowhere closer to justifying poaching. I mean, not poaching, shooting to kill people. I am for the arrest and the due process in courts. And I agree with you in 2020, the issues around what happened in Kasane, in Chobe, where people went to court and the magistrate was, the way it was just one-sided kind of issue, and it needs, Botswana can do better in terms of really improving the judicial process to be seen to be really fair, because it wasn't fair. So lastly, my point is just that issues need to be dealt with strongly. There is poaching, but there is no need for the army to deal with poaching. I think game rangers can do it better. The other reason we should know about the issues around rhino poaching, which has really increased in Southern Africa, and it is done by people who are really totally armed and prepared to kill. I think that also makes both countries and South Africa to panic and want to engage people in the park using arms. So I really think it's a very difficult and sensitive issue, but my point is it needs all countries to deal with and engage meaningfully and in a serious sense. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Appreciate that. It also sounds like there may be a need to have what we call an international conference to discuss some of the things that have been discussed here, because I'm really impressed with the feedback and the exchange of these important issues. Other comments, other feedbacks, other questions of our panel members?
Yeah, just to chip in, and thanks, my brother. I appreciate that he's from Botswana, and he's admitting that there is need for Botswana's judicial system to be much better. There are Tswana citizens in her prisons who poached. Last year, they came in Namibia. One ran back into Botswana. One was neutralized. They didn't kill him. They wounded him, and they took him to the hospital. He got treatment. He was taken to court, and so we admit poaching exists in Namibia and in Botswana. What we are disagreeing about is the method that Botswana uses to kill. Now, I don't want to prescribe to Botswana how they are going to maintain their territorial integrity. But if you kill 37 people, including a 9-year-old boy,
wow.
A 9-year-old boy, 9 bullets, 7 on his skull by BDF, and you put him in a body bag and claim he was poaching. For me, it's deliberate. It's harassment. Look, the Chove region, where the Chove River is, on both sides of the river, my tribe, they occupy both sides. So in 100 years ago, there was no boundary as in Botswana and Namibia. It was one place, and we lived, together. Now, colonial boundaries came, they divided us. And when Botswana perpetuates intimidation, harassment, it actually makes us feel very bad that, look, but they are perpetuating colonialism, apartheid, in the name of border protection. So I appreciate what my brother has said. And beyond that, why would Botswana do autopsy reports that their courts refuse? I mean, that's why in future, why have a system that is a smoke screen, and that's where we're calling for journalists like him, that let's see these voices come in their papers. I spent 2 weeks in Kasane for the inquest, but I tell you, not a single Botswana newspaper said what I'm saying. They still supported, what the government vision was. So it's unfortunate that the media in Botswana is also constrained. I'm not sure what the reasons are, but we thank him, and I think he'll produce better articles henceforth. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Other questions or discussions for the panel members? Is there anyone that say hands raised up or missing someone? Open your mic up, you can talk directly to them. And those available who are in the United States, you have an opportunity to talk to them also, make it an international conversation.
I see a hand from Suzanne there.
Suzanne, go ahead. Go ahead. Suzanne?
Okay. I wanted to thank you for the distinction between cooperation and reintegration. I haven't heard that before, and that really hit me a lot. I work with people who are reentering after incarceration, but I like the sense of reintegration into society better than reentry. One's an event and the other's a process and a reunion. Thank you.
Thank you. Other feedback?
I just wanted to also just appreciate the journalist from Botswana who came on here, and I think it's important that with these dialogues we continue with these dialogues so that we can formulate something that will work for both parties. Like he said, yes, poaching is evident in those regions, in the Chobe district, in the Zambezi, in Namibia. It is there. We cannot deny it. Like my friend has already said here, Simvola Mudaveti said that we are not here to advocate for poaching, but we are looking at the lives of more than 30 people that have been lost without cause and without remorse and without any remedial action that took place after that. I mean, if you can look at the 9-year-old who lost his life, and then you think of a poacher at 9 years old, we are not in those countries that we hang over with war, that they had children who had to go into war. No. We are such peaceful nations. Democracy here is evident everywhere. So there is no way a 9-year-old will be found poaching. No. Yes, you will find the 9-year-old at the river fishing. These are skills we learn at a young age from our tribes. So it is important that these dialogues continue so that both sides of the coin can actually have or create an understanding and a better way forward. So I just wanted to appreciate the brother who came, and also to urge him that they should report. Well, perhaps they don't have the ability to report freely in Botswana, but in Namibia there is press freedom. So everybody here is free to express themselves. Thank you for that comment.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Other feedback, other reactions. I will say I had a chance to visit Chobe some years back and saw that whole area, Chobe River, and travel through where those countries come together. It's a beautiful place, and especially at night when you see the sunset, but just a wonderful place. I see, Elvis, you have a question. Go for it.
Once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate to see such platforms. It's my first.
I think I accidentally muted you. Go, if you can open back up. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. It's my first time to attend such platforms. I really appreciate to see that our seniors are really working. The movement is being done worldwide. So there's really a need for such continuously discussions. So I just wanted to add on that. I really appreciate my seniors said something that the two coins, like Botswana and Namibia, they really need to sit and find the amicable way. The solutions on such. We are not advocating for poaching, but what we are really looking for is not to kill, because we are not living in that world of where people can be killed wherever they are, however they want. So we really want Botswana and Namibia to work on something like that. We need to see our people engaging each other when we live in a shared resources. We have Chove River that we really share. So when we are there, we really need to see our people talking to each other freely, greeting each other from the other side. So we don't need to be scared, because it helps. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Other feedback, other reactions?
Maybe just to say, I also appreciate what President Masisi has done. It has not been done. I think it was first in Africa to have Namibians, get into Botswana using IDs. That's the type of friendship we want to see. Botswana has no ocean. But Namibia gave it, we have a port, Walvis Bay Port. We gave them a large tract of land. And every morning when I go to work, I get 5 to 10 trucks of Botswana coming in and leaving. And I'm happy when I see that, and that's what we want to see. But to find that there's one country that benefits above the other, it worries me. I think Namibians have gone through terrible war. We have seen much bitter results of war than Botswana. And that is why sometimes people mistake our silence for weakness. So we do understand we've lived through war, and we know the results of war. So when you see us speaking out, it took a long time, more than 30 years. Botswana has been gunning down these men. And why we are saying innocent and unarmed, out of the 30, only one was found with a gun. And it was a shotgun, it was a shotgun. The rest of them, it's bullet wounds behind their backs, fleeing, some swimming, and that's what we're saying. That's heartless. You can't put wildlife above human life. Where is the Ubuntu in that? We are human, and we appreciate again Botswana housed our president and many others. And that solidarity, we believe that's what we are calling for. So we appreciate that we have these conversations, and we're going to get common understanding, and we engage young people. We are the future, and we need to understand and make sure we work together and support each other, and have a country, that doesn't just sign documents like the border treaty, that these documents are living documents that translate into socio-economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the those who in the United States or whatever don't know the implications of the Botswana and Namibia situation is you don't need a passport to go to these countries. You go back and forth with ID, and that's kind of rare. A lot of countries are, again, recording people to have passports, and so there's kind of a new kind of relationship. And I know that some of the different African countries are starting to talk about how do we have kind of like a borderless countries where we can go back and forth without a lot of negativity. Again, some of these borders were drawn up by the colonialist power. I have a quick question to throw out is that after this situation is over, does Namibian Lives Matter go away? Are you still an ongoing group? How do you where do you go from here as an organization if this issue is not resolved to your satisfaction? What do you do? What are the plans long-term and short-term for your organization?
Sylvester will take it, then I'll conclude it. I don't want to be the man talking a lot. Sylvester is a great man. He will take it.
Mercy, are you still with us? Come on, Mercy. Where's your internet connection, my friend? Other people, other reactions.
Well, yeah. I think I think when we were before the passing of our president, we already had a roadmap for this year, and one of those was to engage our president directly, and then also to engage the Ministry of Agriculture, which deals with delimitation and the Surveyor General linked to that particular ministry. We also had a couple of meetings that were lined up or that are still lined up for this year, engagements that we need to make so that we can exhaust every avenue locally before we go anywhere. So the idea behind all these engagements is that we first of all need to understand the critical issue at the moment is now also the 2018 border treaty, because it appears that Botswana has already submitted instruments for that border treaty, but Namibia has not done so, which gives us an opportunity to sit with our government and really look at the geographic demarcation of that particular border treaty, because it appears that some land that belonged to Namibia are now a part of Botswana, which is causing a serious problem for our people. Imagine this is a field of land that you've been plowing for years, and all of a sudden you are told now it belongs to Botswana. You are unable to set foot in that ground ever again. The moment you get in there, they tell you you are trespassing. You are illegally crossing into Botswana, and you are arrested. So this is why we want to extensively engage our government to exhaust these avenues, to see to it that before instruments of ratifying that border treaty are submitted, we should make sure that government takes a stand to also consult traditional authority, to also engage the community who are affected, who are going to be affected, so that there are remedial or mitigating factors that are put in place before these submissions are made to the AU and so on. So, well, we have a lot to do in terms of engagement right now locally, so that we establish this a roadmap going forward. So I think Mr. Mdavedi can fulfill where I might have left something.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think that's Aliana Green is online, I know. Maybe she just doesn't want to say. Yeah, we've engaged also others in the US, academics. We want to publish papers, Hi, I see she's there. Aliana, you want to say something maybe concerning our work with you?
Yeah, sure. My name is Elena Green. I'm a PhD student at Cornell University, and I've been connected with Namibian Lives Matter in trying to use my dissertation and then also the resources at Cornell to shed light in the US and internationally of the systemic use of violence for conservation in Botswana. And so it's still in beginning stages in regards to our conversations, but I wouldn't Namibian Lives Matter is truly amazing. And all the work that you guys have been doing in supporting the community and in shedding light on this issue is profound. And I am hoping I can do it justice in getting it into the circles where change can happen at the more political level.
Very good. Appreciate that. Thank you. Other comments, other feedback. We got about 8 minutes left, and I also want to give the guests a chance for closing comments if need be. Other feedback. The other little thing I would share is that one of the things that we're more going to do is try to do more of these events And again, because of the time difference, again, the times will be changed a little bit. We'll call them a lunch and learn our side and maybe a supper thing on that side. But we'd like to get more and more people in our communities, in our countries, our education institutions do these conversations on various topics. The other thing we like to do is bring more of the academic community into, Ms. Green, appreciate that, into these conversations, because in many of our Black studies and ethnic studies and studies that deal with international issues, they don't have an opportunity to talk directly to residents and indigenous Africans throughout the world. And so we're hoping to be a conduit or facilitator of these conversations, because again, when you travel places, you experience people directly, you cut through the stuff that's in the media. So we really would like to see a lot more of these and encourage you to evaluate and give us feedback so we can improve these kind of conversations. Other feedback, other comments, or other feedback from the participants? Questions?
Hello, I'm Maureen Bentley, and I spent time in Tanzania and Kenya. But I'm curious if the situation in your countries is similar there, where there's tension between the pastoralists and farmers.
Excellent.
For
Thank you.
land that is held by wildlife.
Feedback, questions? In other words, let me translate if I can. Is there a conflict between those who are dealing with cattle raising and all these other different fears? Is that what we're saying basically?
Yes, because there's a lot of tension with pastoralists want to use land for herding, and there's wildlife in those places.
Oh, I see now. Cattle and all that. I got you. And then versus you have these reserves, game reserve, and yeah, large tracts of land. Any conflicts in Namibia? Anything on that area?
We have, in fact, we have a policy that regulates wildlife-human conflict. And see, that's another bone of contention. On one hand, you have subsistence farmers, that live off their land in terms of crop production. And on the other hand, you have elephants that come and literally destroy your harvest. and what government gives in terms of compensation is close to nothing in terms of your inputs. And then the second problem also is that the numbers of elephants, of wildlife, is far, far above the carrying capacity. And when you have that, you literally also have foot and mouth disease, that comes from buffaloes. And so we are saying to government, we need to have serious mitigation that is scientific, that is informed by science, and say, look, these communities have lived with these animals, but we need to have serious scaling. Because if we don't scale down, the human population is increasing, and therefore there's competition for resources in the space. And so that's why we're calling for policy change to say our policy should speak to the type of lives that people live. It's inherent human rights that people have the right to share these resources. And so we do have that, but I'm glad that government has consulted. There was a national conference to consult farmers, traditional authorities to give input, and very soon they'll table it in Parliament. And once they've pronounced themselves, I think we'll give a public statement. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Folks, we're down to our last, I would say, about 4 minutes or so for a set right around that. But want to give our guests a chance to any closing comments, and I'll make some closing comments and self-serving advertisement after that. But any of you want to share any closing comments with our audience, takeaway points?
All right. I think I should just appreciate the platform that you have given us so that our voice will be heard across the seas. I think it's important for us to continuously engage in terms of what Simvalam Daveti has already mentioned, which is wildlife and human conflict. It's important for us to understand conservation of wildlife and also how we mitigate these effects of animals coming into the territories where people are. So as much as we are also focusing much on the human life that needs to be preserved, that we don't destroy each other, we don't create unnecessary conflict with our neighbors. It's important that we continuously engage. Because if you look at this, Namibia, or rather the Chove and Zambezi region where they are situated, you find that In most cases, on the other side of Namibia, this is where we have our fields for plowing. But on the other side, they have got national parks and conservation areas. So that is why it's very important for us to engage to find a better way to coexist with the animals, and also life needs to not be spilled, or rather blood doesn't need to be spilled, all in the name of conservation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think on my part, issues of security should be balanced with livelihood. We want human life protected, but we also want the type of security that is activated to protect animals, to consider how people live. People have subsisted on fishing, and people fish at night. So if poachers are found at night and fishermen are found at night, I think we should not be hiding, behind the anger that we have for poachers and unleash such anger on innocent men and women. Secondly, there are international laws, conventions on shared riverine resources, and the Chove River is shared. So on Botswana side, they've declared a part of the river is a national park. And, we want to encourage Botswana and any other country that, look, let their territories define what they do. You can't put a curfew, for example, on the river. You can put a curfew on your side, and I think that's the understanding. On the Namibian side, majority of our people have villages, are farming. On the Botswana side, that's a national park, so that already brings such challenges. So I think we need to meet, discuss, and find platforms that are internationally accepted. We're human, we sit, diplomatic. There's no need to be turning human beings into human targets. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, I'd like to thank our guests for being available and able to throw out some heavy light on this important issue that affects us as a global community. It's been a pleasure. I also want to give credit to Humanities Nebraska, who helped fund this event for us, and we will be doing other events like this to bring our worlds together. There's a tagline we used to use in Table Talk where we said we come in as strangers, we leave as friends. So this is one of those opportunities where we can do a greater sense of doing that. And I think the other issue we have to consider is what are the outcomes? How do we measure what we're talking about? How can we see transformations not only in our people who live in villages and various parts of their communities, you name it? How do we make sure that we improve the quality of life so that what we see today is even better tomorrow because of the work that we've done? So I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to do this. The other thing we'd like for you to do, and again, for those of you who are across the ocean, or as I say, in the motherland, we'd like for you to sign up on our website. We're going to be bringing other events like this as we deal with international issues moving forward. We will have a book review by a Botswana author about her book and life living in Botswana. We're looking for Namibians and people in South Africa, as well as Lesotho, Swaziland, elsewhere, to help bring their worlds a little closer to our world in the West. Our media has not done a great job of talking about the African diaspora, but more than anything, talk about some of the issues that impacted us historically that has conditioned us to be the way we are today. I know Botswana and South Africa are going to have elections coming up this year. That's another topic that we can talk more about. So we'd like for you to go on our website, sign up to be a part of our Lunch and Learn, more events like this. And we also would like to say that it's been a pleasure to be able to host this event. And we will have this posted on our website as well, an evaluation and opportunities for us to continue these conversations and dialogue. So on that note, as we always end, we end our session. So on, may the force be with you. Baroko.